notice and feel that around, say, poverty, there are a lot of other things about how people, what people see and what they don't. Um, I think that if you work at a gas station, you become inured to seeing people who are without homes, on them homeless people. I have been without a home. And there's different ways to be to be without a home, psychologically, physically, emotionally, as a child, as an adult who never got to be a child. Let's go. Um, let's say we take a really generous view and say that the police are striving every day to be part of the happiest reality of all people. I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm just trying to turn on your romantic mode there for a second and be generous, because that's what I'm. Yes, I'm going to make a point, and yes, I'm going to contradict it a bit. But you'll notice I'm going to try to be fair here. Let's say that let's say we're protected children, and we're all having a wonderful day, and the people are just like happy you're having a good time. You're peaceful, they're peaceful, we're all living in the peaceful reality. And when everyone's happy and peaceful, you don't have to worry about being arrested or accosted. You have all the food you need, the water you need. Now, if for some reason you didn't have all the food you needed and the water you needed, right? That would kind of be a problem, wouldn't it? If you didn't have, what if you didn't have the safety you needed from your guardians, as they're called, your custodial guardians or your mom or dad? That would be a problem too, right? That thwarts your peace of mind. It could thwart your health for the rest of your life. No, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, psychologist to go, that's a problem. Is that against the law? And a million things happen to human beings every day that are against the law before they slash someone's tires. We're not making an argument for or against crime here. We're just stating facts. You're the judge. Please hear the facts of the case. You don't have to make a judgment yet. You can do whatever you want. You're a brilliant man. You're a brilliant woman. You will hear the facts. You have all the time in the world. You live in the world of happiness. You help to maintain the world of happiness. And if something seems not so happy, you want to hear all the facts before you make a decision. Okay? And there are a million, I come before the judge and I say, there are a million very wrong things, whether they're illegal or not, that happen before someone gets angry enough to punch someone, or gets drunk and beats their children, or steals a car, or joins a gang. In fact, there wouldn't be gangs, right? It'd start a gang. Hey man, let's go around and hurt people for money. Because pain has a voice in this world, and we're going to get some too. Because isn't that really what it's saying? And when it's saying that, did you know it's always saying, our Father's gone, and we don't know what to do about it because we're in so much agony. You can feel it. It just changes everything about your life. But it's not against the law to lose your father. It's not against the law for your father to lose his father and then just smack you across the cheek one day because he's done all he could fucking do all his life, along with putting food on the table, to deal with the fact that his father went away and was replaced by someone who could punch him in the head. Still not against the law. right? And you're trying to growing up figure out what love is. Because you got a little time on your hands between work and school and slavery and being hit by people and getting creeped out by various TV shows with creepy messages all the time. Mostly it's making you feel less as a person unless you become more of a creepy person like the people on TV. Okay? So, and you're trying to figure out what love is, and you're going to school and you're happy teachers, you're happy homes with perfect amounts of non-scented deodorants are telling you about right triangles and quadratic equations and geometry and Ulysses and poetry and history and social studies and art, and everyone is being a good child and a boy and girl, preparing you for the great world ahead of you. And you're like, none of this is helping me figure out anything that I need to try to understand in my life. In fact, it's making it harder. But with the little time that you have left, figure out what happened to you. Let's put ourselves into the minds of those children right now. Will you come to the world? Will you come with me into the mind of such a one as he or she? Voice has finally found your high court, your high bench. And this is going to challenge all of your abilities, and we're going to see what kind of judge you really are. And if you're not a good judge, we'll depose you and we'll replace you with one who can listen, which is this child. Will you come with me now? Or are judges above the law, above the decency of reality, its essence? Make me stern-faced. What kind of crazy little cunt is this? Oh, he's not part of the bar, sir. He just came in through the back. All right, I'll hear him out. Right? Because it's very, very hard, isn't it? Very hard to get someone's attention. I've spent all of my life writing and speaking and studying, and I have personal matters to attend to, and I have ways I need to grow, and I need to make myself heard, I need to make some money, all that kind of stuff. I need to be fair, I need to operate within the right if people want to pay me to talk or write or do things, right? But also what I found is it's very difficult, if you would have mercy on me, Court, to talk in a way that people can hear. But do you see how provocative this discussion is? That I can't even get into the voice of that child yet, because we're just taking care of all your problems, being society, and all your neuroses, and all your defense mechanisms, and all the little come up all of a sudden when someone starts talking about the real pain of a child and helps you to understand it as well as a character in your favorite video game. But your remote control isn't working. You can't tell me what to say. You can't tell that child what to do. All you can do is listen to them. Shut up and fucking listen. Because you claim to be a good fucking human being who people should respect and not spit on when you walk down the street. Be a decent human and shut the fuck up and listen to me. Right? And that goes for all of us, because it's hard to hear. And that child is walking around one day thinking, hey, just a second, I found something. This is making a nice bench. I got rid of my other bench, so I'm going to take this board and use it. Thank you. Just a second. This is a gift from nature. Don't you worry your little hearts. We'll get to the serious stuff in a moment. Intermission. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. They should play music when you go to the bathroom. There's no taking a good crap music. You know, and maybe it doesn't, maybe it's kind of its own music, in a way, like, you know, but maybe it would be like sacrilegious. But like, I would love to have like a little thing set up in the bathroom, like in click when this is that moment. This is the one we've been waiting for. No, not the big one that people are scared is going to hit BC and kill everybody. This is the big one. The pleasurable biggest deuce you ever took. What music would you choose? Me, it would be like do 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 do, and then I would add do 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 bum bum ba do 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 do. Oh yeah. Oh do 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 do. Okay, I got my board. I had one like this, and just a nice piece of wood. I found a river had washed up what do you call those things? Lawn chairs. I was using it to compensate for the fact that it was ripped. You can get your mechanical engineers. You're not terribly mechanical, but you get what I mean. I was using the board as a bench on, so I could still sit on the chair even though it had a hole in it, right? Okay, you get me. All right. The bench and chair, the wood was perfect. It was kind of like a varnished piece of darker wood. I don't know the name. For a guy that spends all his life in the woods, I really don't know much about them, but I think it's a good thing. It's strange that way. It's like someone who lives in New York all their life. I'm like, I don't know what the streets are. What, there's a Manhattan? Where's that? Everything's a mystery to me. There's hot dogs here. Long pieces of meat that you can chew on. Strange. Never heard of that. Okay, so we're gonna put this. No, it's got nails in it. I can't do that. But you're gonna be fun. So we're gonna put you over here. Oh, which nail? Which side is the nail on? Okay. There we go. I'm gonna put it there. Come back for another time because I can do something with that. So I've been released from bondage recently, and that bondage, which to be described today, forced my heart deeper into my primal fears, which seemed to come more and more to do with my mother, replaced, and being pushed out of my home, being pushed out of my own home, like I didn't even exist, like I was a ghost, to be replaced by other things and other people. Imagine you were in the womb, and the person whose body you're in was saying, oh yeah, my baby's coming, talking to some cute guy at the fire station. Oh, I'm only 3 weeks. I love my husband. Right? Meanwhile, you're banging his brother. Or for any reason, which is being scientific now, that baby's brain doesn't feel like a hamster or a small animal that you know they even exist. There's no connection there. And you lost that connection to your body when you were a little girl, but you didn't know it. And don't worry, because lots of this shit can happen, and you can still be a perfectly decent person who can basically spend their rest of life and never feel like they have any primal issues. And if your children don't know any better, well, that's their tough luck. Okay? Just clinical. We're before the judge. We're trying to figure out bad things that aren't crimes, but could be called them, that happen, that man don't see or hear, and it's difficult. And you could be in the body of someone one day who is quite, but nobody's talking to you about it in any explicit sense. You wonder if it's really true, but you feel like you can form the words to describe traumas or potential traumas as you, inside your life, can observe all kinds of ripples of cause and effect in your emotional body that no scientist could have any advantage, except by coercion and set by religion and orthodoxy. You are the best person to know what a child feels and doesn't. You were in the womb and you felt this way because you can see cause and effect relationships. You can interpolate into your own womb, just like the world does before it says you're a sinner, or you are a genetic anomaly that came down the river Styx, got into a lot of denial, and then spit out of Seahawk's ass. Okay? Filled with a lot of debt that you had to earn back with little chits of labor that your flesh and blood was converted into before you were even born from the asshole of God himself. Because the soul is an asshole. Right? So there's I consider these like tiny little shards in the happy world of human beings. Negative suggestions. To even speak of them, really, is to become a very negative person. As they fall from my lips, how can they make me look as anything more than extremely cynical, dark, sad, pitiful, unworthy? The High Court should never listen to it. It effectively accuses me of being the real problem. Because you say things that are filled with negativity, the court finds you just an utterly negative, insane bitch. Go away from us. Right? Who am I being then? Who am I playing, do you think? right? So there's an alcoholic script. It's called, I throw poo-poo at you, and then I accuse you of being a poo-poo head. See, I'm not going to walk up to you and you're in public, and I threw 5-pound basket all over your head. And I pointed you and said, oh, look, poop, another one of those poo-poo heads. Oh, their head, arrest him. Get him out of here. He's a filthy, sick animal. Look at that. Look, he speaks and the poop comes out of his own mouth. It's all over the place. Get him out of here. He has to say, but this person threw poop on me. Oh, no, you're a poopy head. That's just nonsense. Okay. And what if the world makes mistakes? What if the world has excesses? What if the big world of controlling people, giving them sports and jobs, making sure their paychecks have enough zeros in them? What if that world isn't the same as a perfect mother's womb? Okay? Why do I use that example? Because it's a very discrete, bounded, biological example of perfection. Because I bet you needed every little thing to be right at the cellular and atomic level when you were growing in your mother's belly. Right? But when you're in the womb, you scoff at this example because obviously the world isn't meant to be as perfectly nourishing. Right? It's not meant to be nice to you. Right? Your mom and dad don't go to work saying, hey, everyone should treat you in every way. Your teacher should just give you a break when you need it, let you suck on her breasts, chocolate time every 3 minutes, you get to go to the bathroom, and sometimes not even touch the toilet. Life is a gay parade. No. Instead, you have all kinds of rules around you. Right? Because now, a way to nourish yourself outside of the womb is to do what people tell you, who are bigger than you and have more social and size, in every sense, physical and psychological advantage, and completely trust that by following their directives, you will be helped as well, or at least in a way roughly related to what you might expect, given that a very honest biological cavity, a kind of high court, if you will, right, decided that you were worthy of drawing breath, right, in whom the great mother was so proud and said, go forth, I nourished you for a reason. Not as a cruel joke, to then throw you into a world that will never nourish you, but to give these people authority to teach you how to do what they say as a way of soothing yourself and being independent. How does that child in the womb become independent? If people, strange people like that, have the right to order them around. Think about that. How do you ever become independent when your contiguous hungers as a baby become extrapolated into the satisfaction of the will of others who are not even behaving their own? We know that because they're doing it on a professional basis. They have jobs, which means they're actors, which means they're empered out of all of their own volition. Whatever they do no wrong, as long as they do what they are told, and as long as you do what they are told, you become an actor as well. You become hollowed out and need that only they can satisfy. And so your relationship to your teachers is a relationship of a heroin addict, a crack addict, to crack cocaine or heroin. It is the same thing. It is the same basic sex. We're not even getting into sex development yet. Right? So you really want to do psychology? You can do psychology. You want to go to Stanford and suck somebody's dick for the rest of your life? You can go do that too. Right? But I have only so much time on this earth, oh great judge of the world, and I think it's important to find out that what a little child might want to start doing, or have to be forced to start doing, thinking about what love really is, when they've already lost their father or their mother, or the safety of their home. The way you could lose your car to a robbery or a break-in, or your peace of mind to a traffic jam, but in a different level, longer ranging effects that no child is fully conscious of, because the harm is being done at a level of the emotional body and the brain that doesn't, it says something, but it doesn't form words. You understand? If I come up to you in public and I raise my hand to hit you, I haven't used words, but I bet you your emotional body is going to respond. That's called assault, right? So the law does get into some invisible crimes, right? I could say I was just joking. You know, I do that to everybody. Go up to someone else while the police officer's like, hey, see, how you doing, man? Fool. That's what we do in my country. It's my religion. We just raise our fist and pretend to bash you in the brains, right? So you might have some sort of a legal defense there, right? But that gives us the idea of invisible crimes. So things can happen to you and you can't say what they are, right? But when they're big enough, we start to look for someone to blame. We start to feel guilty. We start to develop compulsions. We don't even realize it. One day you wake up and you saw something on TV about soldiers and you thought, I'm going to start making my bed like a soldier and keeping my room perfectly clean. And you start cleaning your room every day. You wipe the windows. You ask your mom where the is. And every day you just clean, clean, clean. You wash your clothes 3 times a day. You talk about the cleanliness of the Lord, but it's next to godliness. Clean, clean. You clean your toes, brush your hair. You use soaps and emollients all over your body. You start cleaning the rest of the house. Clean, clean, clean. You start picking up garbage in the neighborhood, right? It all makes sense. Order it, order it. And on the weekend, you go to a satsang, right? In a nice, clean environment, right? You recommend they get an air filter, an air purifier, and start, letting incense, the wind, and cleaning the energy. You bring giant eagle feathers there to clean the air. You put up signs saying no flatulence, right? Because in the name of cleanliness, you've got something to do for the rest of your life. You can try to clean the rivers, you can clean the sky, you can support a blue box program that gives everyone a container ship-sized container to collect all their shit, and it's carried away once a year on Garbage Day, G-Day, December 24th. The day before that little bit of garbage comes out of Mary's ass to condemn the eternal spring to eternal death, along with the sun and the sky that's only got 50 million years to go. So the child's out there. Child doesn't know what I know. Maybe they're 8 or 9 years old. I could have been that child. I wasn't thinking these things at 8 or 9, but let's say I could. And I think, what is my dad's love? What's happening to my family? Now, you might have had those thoughts. You might have already seen a sibling behave in a way that made you scared or attached to them or to feel some sort of longing, wanting to identify with them, some sort of emptiness directed at them. Something you accepted quickly because you could, but it was new and different in a way that's, if you'd had the word irrational, you would have said yes. Like when my sister started to keep all her Halloween candy in her closet and she would never eat it. She would have bags of this stuff from Halloween and it would sit there for years and she would never eat it because she was controlling food. I found out the other day, at the age of 50, that my dad used to tell my sister that she looked fat. And yes, I understand that's horrifying. I'm horrified just thinking about it. All of a sudden, my sister's life made perfect sense to me. This is why you have compassion on your siblings. Because a parent like mine, a father who does these things, waits till they're alone with you. So she'd eat her. And what my dad would do, it's a sickness, okay? And it's scary, right? It's scary that there is sickness that make people behave this way. And that, in some sense, we like to think, or we don't want to think, that they know what they're doing. You would say, why would someone talk that way to a little girl? I wouldn't. You look fat. I should, you know, my sister, like all the girls, probably had a bit of a round belly at some point or whatever, but we're always healthy. Run. I certainly never thought my sister was overweight at all, but I did see that she's having a plate of salad every time we were eating, but I didn't know why. And I didn't ask. My dad would have known, wouldn't he? Hey, one less mouth to feed. He must have been feeling really good about himself. Not feeding Lindsay now, do we? That's one down, 3 to go. I mean, he did benefit from that in a material sense, didn't he? He spent less money for food. Right? Oh, High Court. Where's the father now? And in a few short years, I'm sitting to the father. One day while I'm gesticulating and just carrying on in a playful way, as I would, sometimes I would have the entire family in stitches. But we were laughing at people were falling out of their seats. I know it's a bit kooky, but I was a smart young man. And I loved humor. I would tell drawn out jokes and I'd make them up as I go along. My parents had no idea that I was a druid or witch. They would go on and on and on. I wrote a 2,500 satirical piece on dog poop last night. I read it over today and I still find it funny. I just go on and on and on. And I would tell these really drawn out jokes. Satirical and illuminating and sad and bitter. And the one I remember the most, for word, I was talking about having to go outside and collect water from 2 miles away, like they do in Africa, you know? And I don't know what made it funny or how I came up to that, but I know that everyone was smiling and laughing. And I knew in my emotional body that they were releasing pain. I found out that I could get my family to relax, you see? And now and then, without even knowing it, this is something I guess that was trained into me, I would become playful at the table because the table really was the only place we ever got together. Really, in any real sense. And I sit to my father's right, and I'm gesticulating one day, and I accidentally hit him in the nose. And you're like, shit, right? I get quiet. I clearly know I did something wrong, right? And I'm scared. I'm having all the natural bodily reactions of a 14, 15-year-old boy who's about 120 pounds soaking wet. Okay? And the time ticks by like an eternity. And my dad lifts his hand and strikes me across the face. Hard. My body erupts with shame and blood. It feels like my face just puffs up. Like it just wants to cover me over in shame. Heat and blood and pain and humiliation coursing through me. He changed me as a person. Heidi, he changed me as a person. You know, I didn't make a lot of jokes at the table anymore. I started making jokes on my mom's ghetto blaster, making satirical tapes. Then I got a video camera, I did that. At no point, sometimes I'd put up little Far Sides on the refrigerator, little jokes. Some of them at my dad's expense, showing the local waterworks or sewer system, and all the gauges being tilted because Alan Seeley just flushed the toilet or something like that. And you might say that was a little bit over the edge, but I was a child. It was not really mean-spirited. But in a way, I had subconsciously the charge of trying to deal with a very difficult problem. Our father was a violent man, a dishonorable man, in some respects. If we may say that he was a diseased man. Despite however many times he took me to psychiatrists or child psychologists and had lengthy discussions with him in front of me, they never diagnosed him with anything. Despite seeing numerous psychiatrists as he joined local child organizations, nothing and no one ever diagnosed him. Until one day he was caught getting movie passes to a movie theater because one young boy he was dealing with worked there. And he could get him in for free. And that was it. They let him go. And you say, well, no big deal, right? But what you don't learn if you had a nice father that I did, and I've learned subsequently because these tend to be patterns in your life, Everyone has a certain amount of birth trauma. You could say it's evolutionary or whatnot. You could understand how the brain of a child is going to endure a few challenges. It moves from one environment to the next, you know, and so on. And people account for that in different ways. Some people put a lot of focus on it, some people don't. We can agree that it is a remarkable change in circumstances that presages, perhaps, in maybe multiple or parallel sort of theoretical waves, how we're going to deal with stresses for the rest of our lives. And you don't have to draw like an exact correlation, but it's on par with the story that you would consider a sufficiently knowledgeable account as how you may draw a few lines of causation from the changes of birth into the world and before and after, and how people deal with stress. It is something that scientists do study. Okay, so you're allowed to think about that. Granting that people are expected to have some strong emotional responses to your or my theories about these types of things. So I encountered a lot of people who seemed with my father's disease, as maybe I was related to it. A disease like that puts the disease into you. I mean, people say, I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. Well, that's the ultimate threat, right? To give you a piece of my mind, which goes, I'm going to use my mind or my disease as a weapon and shove it into your blood. How do you like that? And you're like, take that back. I'm like, no, now it's fucking in there. Deal with it. It's like a movie where someone injects somebody with like some kind of deadly serum. And it's like, fuck you. And you're spending your whole life with antidote, right? But there's no laws against that, right? There's no laws against that. And to be fair to society, it may be have a difficult time, we'd have a difficult time enforcing them, or, you can't start parents in jail because they do something that in an evolutionary sense, your brain is born to do, your dad works hard, hey, just get a little family counseling, maybe, join some Little League, do some things that your dad is proud of, get a job, grow out of it, put it behind you, it's just a moment. Right? But the brain scientist steps up. Your Honor, I have a brain scientist here. I have 10,000 brain scientists. It says, when you hit a child at all, you can give them brain damage. They don't advise it anymore. There's a book about it called The Bomb in the Brain. Now, it turns out that a child's brain, especially as you go into your so-called teens years, is about as delicate a thing as there is. You might want to insure it with Lloyd's of London. You might have to wear a helmet when they're around their mommy and daddy. And while you're at it, earplugs and blinders and the inability to turn on a television set. Right? Are you listening? So our little friend, or me or you, is wandering around one day maybe and wondering what really